Welcome to LaQuita's Toolbox, where we deliver relevant content in the form of tools that empower entrepreneurs to elevate personally and professionally. Good is only good until greater is envisioned. You know there's another level in you. Here we discuss the tools to get you there. Lean in as LaQuita and her guests present you with strategies and insight for unlocking your full potential to realize your boldest dream.
Welcome back to another amazing episode of LaQuita's Toolbox. I am your host, LaQuita Monley, and I am absolutely excited about today's episode. We've got a very special guest in studio with me today. So y'all that are returning listeners to the podcast, you know the drill. Get something to write with and something to write on, because we're going to have some nuggets released to us today by none other than Dr. Sakeisha Hylick. But before we bring Dr. Hylick on, let me take a moment to thank our sponsors at Covenant Press. Covenant Press is a faith-based Christian apparel and accessory shop where we as believers can shop online for clothing and accessories that allow us to wear the message of the love of Jesus Christ. Go out to www.covenant-press.com. Again, that's www.covenant-press.com. Shop until you drop, ladies and gentlemen, but do not click off of those pop-ups too quickly, because they contain valuable discount codes that you can apply at checkout to receive savings on your purchase through Covenant Press. Again, that's www.covenant-press.com. Listen, Dr. Sakeisha, we've been trying to do this podcast for a while. I would just be honest, it's mostly my fault. It's mostly my fault, praise God. But we're here today. We are here. Yes. We are here.
And timing is perfect.
Yes, it is. I'm so thankful for his timing, because my timing is suspect, praise God. It can be suspect at times. But listen, take a moment and let the LaQuita's Toolbox audience know more about all of the wonderful things that you do.
Wow. Well, first, just thank you so much for having me. This is such an amazing platform, and I just love listening to you. You always have amazing guests, and you are always dropping nuggets of wisdom. So for me, I'm excited just to be here. And like I said, I'm Dr. Sakeisha Hylick. I'm the founder of Ultimately YOU Coaching and Consulting, where we help educate, empower, and encourage married couples on how to overcome the great divide of communication, finances, and sex. And also the founder of Becoming a Millionaire Power Couple platform, where we help couples help them build a healthy, strong relationship while we help them build a successful, thriving business and build generational wealth for their family. So just excited. We do that through writing books, webinars, events, one-on-one coaching, group coaching, seminars or retreats. So it's just different methods that we use to connect with our audience, just mostly couples that are entrepreneur, that have a desire to step outside of their comfort zone and go from where they are to where God has called them to be, particularly in the area of business or finance. So, yeah.
See, listen, let me tell you. Didn't I tell you guys to get something to write with and to write on? The woman of God is jam-packed full of wisdom, even in just dropping to us, just like the tip of the iceberg of the things that you do. We could have pulled out some nuggets from right there, because you are a multifaceted entrepreneur. And I know the question that you get a lot of the time has to be, how you do all that, sis? How you do that? How does this work? What does balance look like?
Oh, now that's a really good question. True?
Go ahead and give us a little truth, because that's a big question, but it's gonna lead us into what I really want us to get into today, and that's, I might even say that might make us have to have one or two more podcasts, but we're gonna do the best we can with the time we got today.
All right, but Literally, one of the things I realized is that God prepares you for where you're going. My goal and what I served in for 19 years was in the healthcare arena as a pharmacist, learning how to manage conflict, how to manage different personalities and manage budgets and different things of that, and manage, people from various walks of life. And it's funny, being in pharmacy, I often had people coming to me, asking me about relationships, telling me about their marriage, telling me about their spouse, telling me about their finances. And I'm just like, I was just asking questions about your medications. Yes, I could be walking up and down the aisles. Literally, I had to have a signal with my technicians because they'll know, pull me back in the pharmacy, because I would not want to hurt anyone's feelings. But when someone's pouring their heart out, okay, they're here for a reason. We met for a reason. But just being able to manage relationships, and when, when you have an inkling to make a change, when it's time to pivot, God was telling me to pivot, and I was saying, no, I got a mortgage. So we had this conversation going back and forth, and my desire, my heart was to go into entrepreneurship full time, but my bank account and my mortgage company was saying, no, you're not ready. So I was
They can scream loud, can't they? Can't
Yes,
they? Like,
they can.
listen, I'm due and I'm non-negotiable. Like, those bills can be on your back, Jack. Like, and it's not even it's not even from a sense of people that live paycheck to paycheck. That's just a reality for
Actually,
everybody, that we all have bills to pay and they have a due date, and they tend to be non-negotiable or only slightly negotiable. And the idea of moving from security, quote, security and steadiness to the unknown, and I'm just going to have to believe God. That's a big thing. That is a really big thing.
and it can be a challenge, because I had to change my mindset, from that of an employee to an entrepreneur, because I had the skill set. I've been trained for 19 years how to resolve conflict, how to manage finances and budgets on small scales and large scales, but I was just reluctant to do it inside my own household,
Yeah.
So the opportunity came when I got sick about 4 years ago and started having these severe medical challenges, and I couldn't return to healthcare. So that when my faith just went to another level, you've been praying, saying, hey, look, I wanted to be able to serve my clients on a different level, but I always used my time. It wasn't time yet, but now it's like, you have time. Now what time? So,
No,
that was no longer a valid excuse.
so 4 years ago, you had some reoccurring health challenges, and God said, all right, I'm going to shake this up. Yeah, and I'm going to give you all of the time that you could possibly use to shift you, since you're not shifting on your own. And so you may, and even in that still shows a great deal of courage, an enormous degree of courage, because I'm going from 19 years in corporate or in the medical field, and now I'm sick. How I'm sick? I'm the pharmacist, but I'm sick.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sick, and now, guys, you saying, I'm going to heal you, but you're going to go to be an entrepreneur. You're not going back to the steady. You had a lot going on, woman of God. You had a lot going on, and a level of faith that's like, wow. So you bring that all together, and you begin to build an amazing brand. And that's the juicy topic today. You begin to build this amazing brand with your husband. And I have to say that this conversation is precious to me. This conversation is very precious to me, because I want people to know the truth. And we're going to talk about some truth today, y'all. But before we jump into that truth, let me take a minute to thank each and every one of our listeners here at LaQuita's Toolbox. Your partnership as a listener means more to me than you guys can ever know. And not only do I want to thank you for your partnership and listening, but those that have partnered with us financially, we appreciate you for your love and support and your financial contributions, because without contributions such as yours, the LaQuita's Toolbox community, our podcast, and everything that we do under LaQuita's Toolbox would not be possible. If this is your first time tuning into the Toolbox, welcome to the Toolbox family. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button so that you can receive notifications as we drop new episodes every Tuesday at 5 a.m. Central Standard Time. And if you'd like to become a supporter of the LaQuita's Toolbox community, look in the show notes and you will find a link to our Buy Me a Coffee. Click that link and you can join our community for as little as $5 a month. Your support is greatly appreciated. Oh, look, let's get into it. We look across social media and all we see is entrepreneurship. Like that is the going thing for what probably about the last 10 or 15 years. Let's become entrepreneurs. Let's build generational wealth and do it with your family, right? And we see all of the great and wonderful things, all of the fruit. Well, we're going to talk about the labor today. What does that look like? Well, I mean, because when you became entrepreneurs, like Ben and myself, we had been married for a long time. But marriage and building business together, it ain't what it looked like on social media. Not always. Not always. Let me say that. Not always. So share with us some wisdom, like when it comes to building a brand, building a successful business with your spouse. What realities do we need to be ready to face?
Oh my goodness. Let's see. One of the first ones is just having to learn balance, because it looks really easy from the outside. Oh, I'm going to build a brand and whoosh, you see these gorgeous pictures. You don't see a lot of times you don't see what it looks like behind the scenes, the sleepless nights, the scratching my head. How am I going to pay for this? Learning how to work together, because you both have different skill sets. Each one of you has different strengths and weaknesses, and bringing those into the business and be able to manage it such that the business isn't impacting your marriage and vice versa.
Right.
So learning to flow in the differences in your strengths and weaknesses, that is one of the greatest things. You'll hear us say a lot. We had to learn to stay in our lane. My husband is, we're going to do this, this, and that. And I'm okay, so how are we going to do it? He'll lay out a huge vision, and then I'm putting together the pieces. He's the type that'll look, beautiful house here. Okay, wait, first we need to get the land. Then we need to write the plan. So that's me. So that was just kind of I'm a how person. So it can frustrate him, because he's like, he's like, you got to get with the vision. I understand the vision, but how we going to get there? Yeah. So I'm more the implementation person. So learning how to do that without it causing stress and strain in the marriage can be challenging.
Tell me about
one of the things.
Yeah, that's a one. We can rest on that topic for the rest of the podcast, because that is the thing. Like, because it is. We tend to marry our polar opposite. And see, I'm the, that looks great, let's go get it guy in my marriage. I'm the visionary. That's the nice word. I'm the visionary. I'm the one that can wake up with an epiphany because I had a dream, or I was sitting outside and I had a thought, just whatever, and I'm ready to make it happen. And Ben is like, whoa, killer, put it back. Pull it back. Let's see. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And you're right. If we don't understand our spouse's strengths and weaknesses, or our own, the enemy can definitely use that to keep you from achieving the things that you've been designed to achieve. And so what would you recommend to couples that are listening to this podcast that want to build or are currently building? And if they're saying, well, how do I know? Because I've just always saw that as a problem with my spouse. What what would you recommend them to do to not to see it as problems, but actually use those tools, be able to help people understand what it means to stay in your lane?
Well, you know what? I realized quickly as I watched our brand grow. My husband's the one that will like, let's step outside of our comfort zone. And I'm more like, okay, how are we going to do this? When we first got started with radio, I'm like, okay, you're an engineer, I'm a pharmacist. Where does radio come into play? And he's like, you know what? God has opened this opportunity for a reason. You're never going to know unless you step out your comfort zone. So we did that. And, I'm more so, we're going to be in the radio. We're going to talk about this. These are our 3 points. And he's like, okay. And then when it's time to record the show, he goes on something totally different. If he's led to do that, he's like, sometimes you have to mix it up and step outside your comfort zone as he's being led. God will say, hey, I know this is what you've written out, but this is what I want you to talk about today. God knows who's going to be listening to the podcast or to the radio show and what they need to hear. So that was his strength and gifting, recognizing when it's time to pivot, when it's time to be flexible and say, hey, let's try something different. And sometimes those were the best shows. I might have been giving him a side eye in the process, like you really off script. And once we turn the camera off, we're going to have a conversation. But those were those transparent moments. And we were able to be honest with couples, about dating and relationships, about marriage, about building businesses. And it was just a heart to heart, because sometimes your client may need teaching, and sometimes they just need transparency. This is what you can expect. And the feedback that we would get on some of those moments, it was amazing. So we're like, okay, we're having to recognize when to pivot, how to be flexible in those situations, because what I'm thinking in my flesh, this is what it makes sense on paper, but also be open to, okay, recognizing when it's time to pivot and time to try something different. If not, the whole world's going to be passing you by. You're still waiting to get started. It's like, let's start. It doesn't have to be perfect,
Right.
Yeah.
Just
that was
started.
part of it.
So that is amazing. And it's so true. We have to get started. We can't get stuck in waiting for every single thing to come into perfect alignment. I found that the alignment comes with every step that I take. But if I stop taking steps, the alignment definitely won't come, because, well, I'm not doing nothing. Right. It kind of sounds like faith without works is dead. I got to do some work. I got to put the one foot in front of the other. So one of the questions that me and Ben get often, and I do like to ask other couples that are building a brand together, how do you guys keep from competing with one another? I know the first time I was asked that question, I was like, what you mean? But it happens, consciously or subconsciously. What is something that you guys do to keep that from happening, or to keep people from introducing that to you?
It honestly took some time. There was I'll say it like this. When we were first in ministry, we had to give our trial sermon. We were in Chicago at the McCormick Center. I'm up all night writing down my scriptures, putting everything in, going over everything. And my husband's in the bed just relaxing. I'm like, we do have to speak tomorrow. What are you going to do? And he's like, all right, we got this. And I'm sitting there and I'm just laboring. I'm up all night. Then he gets up the next morning, and he had spent a lot of that night just being quiet. Okay, God, what do you want me to say? He gets up on stage and starts flowing in all of the notes that I had written down. He didn't see my notes because I was competing. I put them away to make sure he couldn't see my hard work. And literally, it was just flowing. So then at the end, it's like, okay, he trusted God. Because that's, the way he works is like, God, what do you want me to talk about? He doesn't work on notes. I do. So instead of just competing with him, I'm like, okay, Lord, have your way. And God, show me what you want me to do in this instant. What do I need to focus on? And what we found out is that it would flow, because God would give him what he wanted him to talk about and give me what, and we would be able to support one another. And when we were able to see that we're still on the same team, our goal is together to impact marriages, to help them build successful businesses. We had to walk out what we're teaching, and that meant going through that process. So instead of competing with him, I'm like, okay, God, when he's flowing in his strengths, it's kind of good. I like this, 'Cause sometimes I'll just sit back and say, okay, what did God tell you? I didn't write anything down. And then as it comes, and I'm not telling anybody not to get prepared before you speak. That's not what I'm saying. But it's great to be prepared, but then also allow the Holy Spirit to have his way, whether you're teaching, working with clients and businesses, because there are certain things that, it's still a learning process. Whether you're in your marriage and business, building legacy, we're always in a learning process. So it was less stress in our home, less frustration, more peace when he just flowed in his gifts and I flowed in mine. So if he stumbled, that's when I step in and pick up the pieces, and the same thing. Even like when we do our TV shows, if I get a moment and I'm frozen, I'm like, oh shoot, what was I going to say? He can kind of pick up on it. He'll just tap my hand and he'll just flow. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus. So I was like, no, it's no need to compete. We complement each other. Let him flow in his gift and I flow in mine. But it's not an overnight process. You got to learn to remove the ego and the flesh. What's the greater picture here? It's not about me being seen, me being heard. It's about us working together in our purpose and impacting the people we're called to serve. So when you're able to remove your fleshly perspective and like, okay, what's the ultimate goal, and start flowing from that perspective, it made it easier to transition into, okay, we're working together. We're not competing anymore.
Competing.
You have your thing, I have mine.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. And it is, I hope y'all was taking some notes, because I'm at a loss for words at the moment, and only because she hit the nail right on the head. We don't compete with each other within our marriages, within our businesses. If we keep that going, the constant competition with one another, it'll tear everything up quicker than it will build things up. But learning that your spouse's strengths may be your weakness, so let them flow in that. And my strength may be Ben's weakness, so he let me flow in that. Learn to complement one another instead of competing with one another, and so much growth will happen. And it's almost like it's effortless because you're just flowing. You're just flowing together, and it becomes effortless. One of the, thank you so much for sharing that. One of the other questions that we get asked a lot is, well, how do you know who takes the lead? And that question, I understand that question, especially when people are still trying to figure out who am I, or if they're using things and stuff to define who they are. So how would you address that question when couples actually, especially within the Christian model, the husband is the head, so he automatically takes the lead, or is there another way to view that, not just within the context of our marriage, but specifically in business? How do you guys address that and help your clients work through that?
Well, I respect him as the head of the household. I'm definitely hands down, but it depends on the situation. If it's something related to healthcare, I'm going to take the lead because that's my gift. That's where I have more knowledge. Something in regards to technology, hands off, he takes the lead. So it kind of depends on the situation. When it comes to finances, initially he would take the lead because he was stronger in that, but he took the time to explain it to me, saying, hey, if something were to happen to me, I'm traveling, I want you to understand how to handle this. And so then it went to a phase where he was traveling a lot. So I had to take the lead for that season, And I started developing my gift in that area. So then we started working together. It depends on the situation. I always respect him, hey, you're the head of the household. I'm not trying to take that from you. But in the different areas, when it comes to networking, he might have been stronger in that area. So it just depends on where our giftings are. That's going to determine who takes the lead. But if there's ever a situation where, hey, we both want to take the lead, okay, let's have a conversation about this. Why are we feeling like that? Who is this? How is it going to best benefit whomever we're trying to help? If it's our kids, our family members, yeah, it's really going to depend. So
I love that answer. Love that answer. And And for me, it's spot on, and it's true. Like, Ben is the head of our household, but wisdom, and as my grandma used to say, keep on living. You know, we kept on living, and wisdom taught us that there's some shared responsibility here, and it's much easier to let the person with the strength lead in that moment, and know that it doesn't take away from anyone's thunder if in that moment the wife is leading in that conversation or that arena, or it doesn't mean that the wife can't or is incapable if the husband is leading in a particular arena at a particular moment. And it really goes back to how you were really describing the benefits of understanding how to complement one another and how to flow together. That question usually comes up when the people aren't together as one yet. I found that when they're not together as one and they don't understand what that means, that question comes up, because men and husbands and wives who are very clear on who they are and what God created them to be and to do, I found that they're comfortable in that. And it doesn't matter whose name is on what piece of document. It doesn't matter who shows up to the meeting or who's leading the meeting, because at the end of the day, the fruit is it's going to benefit the house. It's going to benefit the business. So who's best suited for that? Right. So, yeah, it is just some real good gems, y'all. I know y'all been writing and taking notes. And if you're saying, well, LaQuita, I was just listening and I wasn't writing. It's okay. It's a podcast. So you can replay it anytime in your car, on your smart TV, or whatever other smart device you have. Hit that replay and go back and pull out some of these notes, because we're going to get a little bit deeper than that. And Lord, the time just goes so fast when you're having great conversation. But you said something even in your intro, as the work that you do with couples, we want to make sure that, the business doesn't have a negative impact on the marriage, and the marriage doesn't have a negative impact on the business. Give us some examples of that. Go a little bit deeper into that, if you would.
Wow. Okay. Well, what we learned a lot of times, when husbands and wives by nature, we all have our individual personalities. My husband can have a strong personality. And if we have a disagreement, but then the two of us still need to show up together to meet a client, how are we going to really serve that client if we like rolling our eyes at each other, elbowing one another, talking over one another? We've got to learn to, okay, this is a conversation that took place in the home. We're going to have to check this at the door. Right now, we have a client that needs our services. So either one, we got to resolve it now and squash it, or two, table it until we handle what we need to do business-wise and come back to that. Right now, we're business partners. We're husband and wife. We love each other. But right now, in this moment, our function is business partners. You still have a business to run, whether I like what you said to me yesterday or whatever. We still have a business to run. We still have clients to serve. We have people that we're helping with their finances and build their businesses. We can't put their stuff on hold because we had a disagreement. So just learning in that moment. And it can be challenging, because some of us, I'm like, look, whatever it is, I just want to go ahead and squash it and be done. Well, actually, it's more like him now. He wants to squash it and be done. And for me, sometimes I'm like, I just need a moment to process it, because I don't want to respond out of high emotions, which would be low intelligence, which can make things even worse. So I had to learn to just get myself in a posture to say, okay, I can't address it right now verbally. Let me write something down, write out my feelings. And then we'll come back to it. Set a time. Hey, tomorrow at 6:00, tonight at 6:00, we're going to deal with this issue. And we come together, because conflict resolution, that's something you have to learn a lot in pharmacy. And I didn't realize that, learning to deal with different personalities, different perspectives, how to be able to bring things down really quick. You got a client that goes from 0 to 100 real quick. What do you do to bring that situation back under control? How can you help them? So I had to learn I can't have a greater amount of response and respect for a client than I do for my husband, who I said I do to. So I had to learn, okay, the same amount of thought and concern that I'd put into a client whom I don't know, whom I did not say I do to, I can't treat them better than I'm treating my own spouse. So that means I have to have that same level of commitment in my own home. So if I'm going to give them a chance, if I'm going to try to smooth it over and work it out with them and do what I can, I got to do the same thing over here. I can't tell them sometimes your clients in the pharmacy, they're mad in the drive-thru. Okay, you come back tomorrow and we talk about this later. I had to learn, all right, look, I do apologize. This is wrong. This is what I can do to resolve this issue. Is that going to work for you? Okay, sometimes you got to do that in your relationship, learning. Do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? Sometimes it's not always just saying that I'm right. Okay, I need peace in my home. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings or whatever. What can we do to address this? So going forward, we won't have the same challenge. All right, boom. That's one of the things that we learned at the beginning of our marriage. The beginning part of our marriage, we lived in 2 different cities for about 3 years. So we only saw each other on weekends. So we resolved conflict real quickly.
Real quick. Yeah.
So now that we're in the same household, I got to drag this out for days? Nah. Okay, just give me a couple of moments. Let me calm down. Let me go walking. And just start processing it, right? And then, all right. And then come back to it. Because our purpose for the two of us is greater than how we're feeling right now.
Come on. Yeah.
This is just a season. This is just a moment in time. Is this really going to matter 2-3 hours from now? No. Okay, let's resolve this. If it's a pattern or something, we either work through it. Sometimes some couples, don't be afraid. We've been through getting therapy, someone, an unbiased person from the outside to say, hey, this is how you may want to handle it in the future. Because I'm always down to learn. How can I better my marriage? How can I be better prepared for the clients I'm going to serve? So if it got to a point where something that we couldn't work out together, we've been through therapy. I have no problem with that. Learning, hey, when we said I do, it's because we want this marriage to last, and we to make it work. So.
To make it work. Listen, y'all should have paid Dr. Hylick about $65 for that level of advice. That's what you should have done. Get her cash out. Hit her cash out. Okay.
Trust me, it's like, hey, the therapist is much cheaper than a divorce attorney.
Yes. Come on now, let's talk about it. See, the more we talk, the more I think of different paths this conversation can take, right? Because, we've been talking about the challenges of building a brand with your spouse and the benefits as well, right? Like the benefits of building the brand with your spouse is the creation of generational wealth. That, the creation of financial freedom, the creation of owning my time, right? There's so many benefits of building a brand with your spouse, but that building process isn't clean. It's not the Photoshop photos that we see on social media. It's not the highlight reels that we see on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook or wherever you watching your favorite video at, right? YouTube. None of all of that. It's not those things. It's not the highlight moments on the talk shows and, TV and radio interviews. But in that building that brand, we can face some challenges. The challenges must come. They're going to come. But if we equip ourselves with the right tools, when the challenges show up and we have the right tools and we know how to use the right tools, we will be victorious every time. And having a marriage counselor is a handy dandy tool in the toolbox. Okay. Let's break these cycles. Being open about saying that we're not okay is now becoming more and more socially acceptable. And the world embraces it. And we in the body of Christ need to embrace it as well, even more. It is okay not to be okay. It's okay to know that, we've done all that we know to do. And we still have not resolved this in a healthy way. Let's seek out a professional that can help us work through this process, because forever is forever and forever is a long time. And so we're not going to just keep doing this. Why keep putting yourself through a vicious cycle when there is a tool out there that can help you overcome those things, so we can keep building brands and keep creating generational wealth and keep building strong families that build other strong families. Like, so get the help. Get the help. I'm telling y'all should cash out Dr. Hylick. You may be saying, well, LaQuita, I ain't got no cash out. I can't do that. That's all right. In the show notes, you're going to find all of her contact information. Follow, like, and subscribe on everything that she has. Follow, like, and subscribe, and you'll be able to continue to get these nuggets that she has as long as you're following her. And subscribe to all of her social media platforms, because she puts this information out. All you have to do is know where she's located at in order to get it. So I don't know if we're going to have time, because one of the other things that we have not talked about, but that you do help your clients with is, and here's the reality, life keeps lifing. We keep building businesses. We want to make sure that our businesses are healthy. We want to make sure that our marriage is healthy. And a part of making sure that our marriage is healthy is having that healthy sex life. And how does that all fit? Because I don't know about you, but by the time the end of the day comes, that ain't always in my agenda, though it should be in our agenda regularly. And we may be having some listeners say, y'all sound good and everything. Well, make that make sense to me. How we gonna fit that in? I'm tired, boss. I'm sleepy and I'm tired. And that's always a fun conversation. Or I'm mad and you telling me I'm mad. I got time, but I'm mad at him and I haven't quite sorted out my emotions. And he tapping me on my shoulder. What I'm supposed to do with that? What are you saying here?
You know, one of the things that we had to learn was about meeting the needs of one another. You know, now that we're empty nesters, I enjoy my time.
That laugh was loud.
Oh my God. But I mean, just understanding that a lot of men are physical beings. They crave that connection, and just learning not to, yeah, I'm mad. No, I don't feel like it. But I mean, we put so many other things at the top of our to-do list. Our spouse shouldn't be at the bottom. But what we had to work out was a way that I'm not exhausted at the end of the day. And so he's on the bottom of the to-do list, you know, working together in terms of getting the kids to bed on time. Or sometimes just, you know, meeting up for lunch, or, you know,
you got to get creative.
Time together.
Yeah.
You got to be creative. You know,
you got to be creative. Like, and you have to, let me stop laughing. You have to want to be creative. That's the thing. Like, you have to want to be creative. You have to want to make it work. And when you can, and when you do, you'd be amazed at how well it works. And I'm laughing at.
I always like. My husband always likes to he said, honey, I love to see you smile. And he said, I do whatever I can do. I love to see that smile on your face. And I asked him one time, what puts a smile on his face? And when he told me, I was like, okay, done. That's in my mental notebook. It may not happen today, but it's good. You know, that's in my to-do list. To surprise him and do things so he knows that his, you know, the things that he enjoys and finds pleasure out of, that I'm going to be intentional about doing those things, just like he is for me. Like he, you know, he wants to see me smile. He wants to see me happy. Of course, my happiness is not his responsibility, but, you know, these are the things that I enjoy. This is what I would like. And when I tell him the same thing, he's intentional about that. So that's when you learn to just make sure that your spouse isn't on the bottom of your priority, bottom of your to-do list. Because I learned early in marriage, you always have someone out there that's like, they see the value of the spouse you have, you know, and they're like, oh, they're ready, willing, able, ready to put them on the top of their to-do list. You're like, oh, hold up. No. Yeah. I got home. Home is good. I'm
like,
as long as
I'm capable. Like, I'm capable. Yeah. And it's so true. We have to make them a priority, and understanding that we are built different. We think different. We respond differently. And, you know, just for me, as much as I fought that in the beginning of our marriage, because I was just determined he was going to understand where I was coming from. And he was going to get on my page. Like, yeah, I was she. So
I was right along with you. I understand.
I was she, right? But funny enough, what I found out was, truthfully, I hurt me just as much as it frustrated him. Because I don't even know where that lie came from, Dr. Sakeisha, that women don't have those types of desires. Like, it's the last thing on our mind. Like, somebody somewhere needs to dispel that lie regularly. We can be vengeful. We can be vengeful and want the same thing and just mad and say, nope, not today.
And you know what? In all honesty, we can be, it's okay somebody to, you're tired. I get that. But you shouldn't be tired every day, headache every day.
Not every day.
Yeah.
Not every day. It shouldn't just go on and on and on. And even if you are, you can find some energy for that. Like, I'm a mom of 5. We find energy for everything else. I'm a mom of 5 kids. I find energy for the most dumb stuff as it's related to my children. I will drag and find the energy to take somebody to a basketball game, a basketball practice, a football game, a dance recital. My daughter had dance recitals all over the universe. And I don't recall missing one. But making the time for being, I had to figure out that is important too. And when I didn't, it actually hindered me as much as it hindered him. And when that light bulb clicked, I had a whole different approach to it. And now as we're building a brand together, it is so much easier to build together when you're harmonious. And that's one of the pieces that needs to flow together, and you're harmonious. You get it. It's like I don't want to say a magic pill, but it's important. It's in that top 5 most important things that we need to do to keep our marriage healthy. And when your marriage is healthy, your brand is healthy.
Yeah.
But you can have a healthy brand and not have a healthy marriage. But if you want the whole package, they've got to work together for sure. So we have to come back and talk about that on another podcast. I saved it for last because I didn't know how long we were going to take. But that's it. That's a conversation that's, really real in marriage and building a brand. It can be a difficult thing to do. So, but what I would love for you to do now is make sure to give us, let the listeners know where they can find you and what you have coming up soon that they can connect with you with.
Oh, okay. Well, one of the easiest ways or consistent ways to connect me is under Marriage Can Win on all social media, under Facebook, on Twitter, LinkedIn, on YouTube. Everything would be Marriage Can Win. That would be the easiest way to stay connected with me. Instagram is my jam. That's going to be the easiest way. We have quite a few things coming up. We have definitely stay connected because we got a new podcast that we're going to be dropping soon. That we will have another episode of our TV show, The Millionaire Power Couple. Season 3 will be coming soon. And then we also are going to be having a in-person event. All the details are being finalized. So definitely if they stay connected with me, they'll be the first ones to know about all the information. It's going to be more like I don't want to say empowerment conference, but it's going to help you as far as building your marriage and building your brand at the same time. So, just bringing it all in-house, and it's not going to be just us. We're going to have other couples that we plan to partner with. So we're really excited about that. So if you have questions on even just how to get started in business, how do I promote my business? How do I get more exposure for my business? Help me. I'm flowing in business, but my marriage isn't working. All of that is going to be right there. Even being your own bank is going to be a part of it. So I'm really, really excited.
That is, y'all don't want to miss that. Get connected and stay connected with Dr. Sakeisha. Get connected and stay connected. We will have all of her social media information, our contact information in the show notes. Listen, y'all, our time is up for today, but this has been another amazing episode of LaQuita's Toolbox. If it is your first time tuning in, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know if the tools that we've been providing via LaQuita's Toolbox are having a great impact in your life. And if you're saying, LaQuita, I've listened to this thing, and I've got no tools. Y'all suck. I want to hear from you too. Let us know what we can do to improve the tools that we're providing so that they could be of a better benefit to you. Until next time, I'm your host, LaQuita Monley. You guys have a very blessed rest of your day. Take care. God bless.